our leaders are not asking employees, how are you? And then being quiet and listening to somebody answer them, because listening is not waiting for our opportunity to talk. But I think that there are very practical ways of listening to others and then not trying to compare what you have been through in your life with what I have been through. It's really just listening and then asking questions like, how can I support you? Or would you like me to give you feedback?
Welcome to the I Am Wiser podcast, where the biggest questions in healthcare and wellness meet the collective wisdom of industry leaders and innovators. I'm Dr. Laura Purdy, and here we explore the intersections of AI, care delivery, telehealth policy, and more through the lens of those who are reshaping healthcare. This is not just about theory, it's about lived experience and real industry insights. Let's dive in and get wiser together. Welcome to today's episode of the I Am Wiser podcast with Dr. Laura Purdy, where we explore the moments of breakthrough, resilience, and reinvention that shape the way we live, lead, and care. On that note, I am thrilled to welcome Sharon Fekete, founder of The Doctor Whisperer and author of The Broken Road to Mental Health in Life and in Business. Sharon's journey is one of transformation, from overcoming addiction and depression to being a powerful voice for mental health in the workplace and a champion for compassionate leadership. She is on a mission to show that when we prioritize wellness, we don't just heal ourselves, we can heal our organizations too. Welcome, Sharon.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So the last we spoke, it was, I would say, a little over 3 years ago, maybe even longer than that. At the time, you were doing some podcasting and I came on your show and you were doing The Doctor Whisperer and we talked about all kinds of different things. So this is an opportunity for us to reconnect, reflect, and share our wisdom. So how has life been for you over the last 3 to 4 years?
Well, it's been fantastic and wild considering the world that we live in today. I've since written another book that I released in 2024. And yeah, I'm still doing doctor stuff, as I've had 2 calls with 2 of my doctors today. But my real focus is on mental health in the workplace.
That's great. And with the doctor stuff, what are you doing? You're still working with like practice empowering. How are you helping the doctors today?
So I'm an author and a keynote speaker and a coach. So I will always work with doctors because I love my doctors and I know how difficult it is to be a physician without being a physician, because I've just helped so many of them through the years. So I understand the business of medicine and how some doctors go into business and just think it's going to be, you get to heal people. But then the business of medicine comes in and says, I don't think so. You have a lot more to do. Yeah, there's real estate and contracts and insurance, all the things, as you know.
Laws,
So,
legal.
yeah, right, all of it. So yeah, coaching, I'm still coaching a few physicians, but I coach a lot of people in life and in business, because how you do life is how you do business.
That's beautiful. But you've shifted your focus to mental health in the workplace, which sounds like it's a huge passion for you. So tell me about that. Where does that come from? What's happened in your life that's made you wise on mental health in the workplace?
So I have been sober for 31 years, and I knew that I was one of the lucky ones, let's just say, because not everybody has the advantages that I had as a young 21-year-old to have the love of my parents, access to care, good care. And my father was a boss in a division at New York Hospital. So he had a phenomenal EAP counselor, which, for those of you who have never heard of an EAP, which are many that have never heard of it, it's an employee assistance program.
Yeah.
So he was really the first person to not just help me in terms of the root of my issue, which was I had depression. Addiction was just, it was like a showcase. But really the root of it was
the flare.
dysfunction.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Yeah. So my the EAP counselor was very, very helpful to my father because as the boss, his daughter was in a blackout in Detroit, Michigan from the age of 19 to 21. So
Wow.
imagine being the boss and going to see your employees every day and knowing that your daughter is lost in another state. So thank
Oof.
goodness he had the right help. And then when I came back to New York all those years ago, 31 years ago, I saw the same EAP counselor. So to say that the work that I do today is very personal would be the understatement of the year.
It's near to your heart because you've lived it and your family has lived it, and now you're giving
Yeah.
back.
Yes. Well, I think if more people were aware of how much a business could help impact a family, we'd all be better off.
We would. Yeah, we definitely would. Are you now when you say mental health in the workplace, is that just healthcare specifically, like the healthcare workplace, or this is any sort of industry that you're working with right now?
No, so I mean, I'm leaving to do a keynote in Orlando for the. It's like a huge diving organization where
Oh,
all of the people that are coming are in the scuba world, and so yeah, any business willing and brave enough to have a conversation about mental health in the workplace is my jam. I have done the MGMA, I've done the American Association of Medical Society Executives.
yeah.
So there's been a lot of medical that I've delivered keynotes to, but and that is my preference since I've been in the industry since I was in my 20s. But I really think that my core message has always been in business, even being the doctor whisperer. If I can help the doctors in business, ultimately it helps the patients. So if I can help the leaders in business, ultimately I can help the employees.
Amazing. And really,
Yeah.
mental health is industry agnostic, which means mental health is relevant to all industries because all people have a mental environment. All businesses have a mental environment, and the health or lack thereof, it doesn't matter what industry you're in. It's so important.
I mean, especially in this world that we're in today, if our leaders are not asking employees, how are you? And then being quiet and listening to somebody answer them because listening is not waiting for our opportunity to talk. And that is what I have found through all of these years in business that there's not many people that are listening. So I think when some people think about mental health in the workplace, they're like, oh, well, we're not therapists and HR is not meant to provide care for their employees except making sure they come in, punch in, punch out, and give them a handbook. I mean, that's the short version, right? But I think that there are very practical ways of listening to others and then not trying to compare what you have been through in your life with what I have been through. It's
Mm,
really just listening and then asking questions like, how can I support you? Or would
yeah.
you like me to give you feedback? Because I don't
Wow.
think a lot of people are really listening. I think most people are performative in the workplace because that's what we're taught. We're taught to be,
Hmm.
stand up, be the boss, always know the answers. I've seen it all, but there's a lot of compassion that is required in this 2025,
Yeah.
2026 era that we're actually, at the tipping point of. And I think that there's so many basic ways that we can help others in our businesses feel like they're in a psychologically safe and courageous environment.
Mm. Okay, I would love to share a story with you. Actually, this is a very recent story that happened in my business just this week. Okay. We had we're talking about employees feeling psychologically safe. And I have a business. I'm still doing telemedicine. It's my own business now. And we have somewhere between 30 and 40 people that work with us on the team on any given day. Right. And the team came to me this week and they very bravely said to me, our mental health is suffering because there is a person who is on the leadership team who, in all transparency, I would say I had a good relationship with that person. And they said, that is being toxic and we are suffering. And as the leader, the first thing I did was I said, are you sure? And not in a I don't believe you way, but in a mentally I'm open to what I'm hearing, but it doesn't align with what I'm seeing. And so I'm forming my mindset to say, okay, I'm open to you, but I don't understand what I'm hearing. So then we had to ask other people, have you seen this? Have you seen this? This is what I'm hearing. Is it true? And it was a resounding yes. Every single person that I asked to said, yes, yes, yes. Oh my God, thank you so much. Yes, please help us. And I had a moment, and I've never told this story before. This just happened this week. I mean, like within the last 2 to 3 days. This is a real thing that happened in my business. And so I went to the leaders and I said, okay, so there's a problem, and this problem has a pretty clear solution because the things that have happened are egregious, and I guess I need to protect the mental health of the people that are in this company if what I'm hearing is correct. And so we ultimately decided to remove the toxicity because it was that bad. And the response that I saw from the workplace honestly moved me to tears because these people had been suffering in silence for months and I had no idea. I didn't stop and take the time to say, hey, how is everybody's mental health? And everybody was showing up with a smile on their face, being happy, being chipper, being productive, and doing what they were supposed to do. But it wasn't until they got pushed to a point where they were in agony to be brave enough to say, we're suffering and we need some help. Does that resonate with you? Is this a common, this is the first time it's ever happened to me, but is that a common situation that you see in the workplaces that you're dealing with?
Yeah, well, most people just quit. So that's the
Is that what they
reality is.
do?
Oh yeah, most people are
Yeah.
not brave enough to have that conversation. That's really the truth. So I hope you feel very blessed and that you have presented yourself in such a way where they felt safe, because that's a real compliment. I would say um, majority of employees, and I have talked to many, especially right when I get off that stage, and they tell me all
Yeah.
the secrets, which is phenomenal because it's really great research for me. But I think that what is important here is, you know, I've run big business and medical practices, right? I've had 200 employees. I've had 33 women. I know what it's like. But what I also know is that I have the responsibility as the employer to make sure everybody does feel safe, that
Mm.
they do feel heard. So I think what we do wrong, and which is a great opportunity to have this conversation because you've had a great result from it, is how vital it is to check in with our team more. Because, at once a year with insurance benefits, we go, okay, you guys, we're switching from UHC to Florida Blue. Your copay's going up, you're blah, blah, blah. And nobody really says, okay, well, we have this benefit for your mental health. And the truth is the new generations coming up are just not going to stand for it. I come from a generation of like, you work until you're dead, and you
Yeah.
don't complain, you just do the job. There is no, there's no other choice. But I know that the younger generation is getting a lot smarter. And I think that the lessons were learned through COVID. And I'm hopeful that more people will start taking a pause to really sit back and consider what they are implementing in regards to their employees. Because here we are at the holidays, and I know that this is not going to be released at the same time as we're recording, but
Sure.
there'll be other holidays in every year.
Yeah, there's always a holiday.
There's always a darn holiday. But what a lot of employers do is they push happy hour, sip and shops, wine walks, and it's really not inclusive to the people that are
Mm.
sober, or I'm not really sure, especially in the healthcare field, why we think that's a good idea. Um,
Right.
consider,
No, I
you know,
agree.
yeah, like let's not do team building by throwing axes at happy hour. It's just crazy, like what is coming out today. And I get to come into these places and say, especially in the medical arena, like if we're really going to be a part of a wellness movement, which I've been moving in that wellness direction for so many years now, then it really has to match our brand fully. Like we have to be mentally, physically, spiritually well.
Yes.
So, how do we implement that at work? Well, we start with simple, how are you? And then the thing I find the worst is that then the employer goes, oh, you should hear about my cousin in Ohio. You think you had it bad, and there's like this trauma Olympics being played that really doesn't work at all. And,
Yeah.
and there just needs to be more of an opportunity to be heard. So I think more leadership needs to understand how to regulate their own nervous system so they do learn how to respond versus react.
Yes. I have, that's a piece of wisdom I have. I've had to learn that. I was in the Army for 15 years, which is a very reactive sort of a
Mhm.
culture. I don't know if you've spent a lot of time working with soldiers and veterans, but reactivity is kind of what we do in general. And I've had to learn, and thankfully I have learned to be less reactive because it can be really embarrassing, especially if you react in the wrong way at the wrong time, in the wrong situation. It can be very embarrassing.
Yeah, I think that if leaders learned more about meditation and how to practice breathing exercises, not just for themselves, but also encouraging our team to do the same when things get heavy and when there's stress at the job, that we all take a moment to just, breathe in and breathe out and not be so quick to respond. That is the key for me, is to encourage the pause.
Mm.
It's this, how are you? Oh, I'm good. Well, okay, great then. Doc, get to work.
All right.
Are you really? Yeah.
Sounds good.
Like, didn't I hear that you just like lost your dog? Or there's all of these like, how much time are you going to need to grieve like the loss
Mm.
of your mother? You know,
Yeah.
there's not a lot of compassion.
Mm.
So I, you could call my talks that I give just how to prevent turnover, because ultimately that's what happens when you
Yeah.
have a team that feels like they can go to their leader and say, hey, listen, Jimbo over there is a toxic mess. And if he's not gone, I'm gone. Right.
Uh,
But we have to create that
yeah.
environment where people feel like they can say that, because majority of people are literally just afraid they're going to get fired.
That's really
Like,
sad.
yeah. Well, that is the truth though. That's a fact. And the latest data with monster.com is that 93% of employees feel like they are in a toxic work environment. 93%. It's
Oof.
a bad, 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 bad
That's not
percentage.
okay.
No,
That's not okay. And how is that
not.
defined? Do they take it a step farther and say, what are the traits of a workplace that puts it in the bucket of toxic? Like, what are
Yeah.
those traits?
Yeah. So one of them, it's usually the leadership. It's usually somebody toxic on the team. Lack of discussions about mental health, lack of empathy for the current state of the work environment. So many people have been forced to go back to the office. Thankfully, not yours. I heard you do a lot. You telehealth, right? So
Yes.
I think that most people are like, well, okay, we've figured out how to do this in a pandemic. What, do you think I'm an idiot that I have to come back to an office now? Right. So there's no like respect for the intelligence of team members. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it is an interesting. There's all of these different pillars of how they come up with this data, but it is increasing every year instead of decreasing, which is just a shame.
That
Well,
surprises me.
keep me working.
Yeah, it keeps it's good for you, right? But all jokes aside, that is surprising because I do feel like, at least in things like social media and on LinkedIn and in hearing people like you talk, I feel like there has been generally more education, more knowledge, more information sharing, and more advocacy on things like mental health in the workplace. So I'm surprised that that's not translating into that number starting to come down and bosses, I'll just say bosses getting wiser on mental health in the workplace.
Well, I'll tell you what most of them do. And I know that I'm not making any of this up because this is everywhere I go. They send out an email, or a newsletter about wellness.
Yeah.
That, guess what, everybody? Newsflash. We're not reading the emails, especially the ones that are so long. Like, we're not even reading personal emails that long. We're like, can you put this in a text? Uh, yeah, it's really like
Yeah.
we have to be more serious about having conversation,
Yeah.
a real conversation with like, how are you? And what can I do to support you? I know that you just lost your dog. Um, I know that you're very sad. Would it be helpful if you left at, 2 p.m. and you come in later tomorrow? Whatever it is, there's always a way to
Mm.
support, but I don't think that we're listening to our team enough. And I am a direct result of a company that cared enough to have an EAP, and then
Mm.
that in turn changed not just me, but my whole family dynamic. So I think that we have to be bolder and more courageous in our conversations with our teams. It's
I think
way
that's
past
beautiful.
the
Yeah, it is
pandemic
way
didn't.
past time.
I mean, we can't even believe it. Like, I thought the pandemic, I'm like, well, now everybody will get it because it's global. And then I'm like, oh boy, is
Here we
everybody
go.
just taking the trauma and pushing it. Yeah, like to work.
Oh, my goodness. Okay.
Mhm,
Well, let me ask you this. So, from a practical standpoint, right? Because I'm a
mhm,
CEO, there will be other CEOs, I hope. This is a business podcast. So, we're going to have other
mhm,
CEOs on and other CEOs listen. And I think that this is a message that all CEOs,
mhm.
no matter what the size of your business is, needs to hear because this is important. So, practically, how do we take the steps, or what are the steps that we can take to start doing this in a concrete way? It's kind of inefficient. We can't necessarily chat with every single person one-on-one every day and say, hey, how's your mental health today? Is this a person that we bring in our HR department? Is this an initiative? Is this something that we task our like middle management, our team leaders with? Of course, everything is top down, but practically, how do we take those first couple of steps to implement these programs in our businesses?
Well, the real miss for the companies that hire me to come in and speak is that they have me speak to the employees. The employees know what the problem is. It's the leadership. So bring the leaders into the room so they can hear what I have to
Yes.
say. And that has happened countless times. It's also, and this whole like, we don't want to talk to the staff every day about how is your mental health. That has been a response from many people. Oh, Sharon, well, give me a break. I don't have that kind of time. We're running a business here. Yeah,
Yeah.
nobody said you should do it every day, bro. I'll tell you what is good though. At
Right.
least once a month.
Yeah.
How about once a month? How about getting our leaders together? And we talk about HR. I mean, human resources. Well, that's a miss. Because if the HR people don't know about the resources that we can provide for our teams, and listen, I was just on NBC last week. I'm being interviewed by the woman. I have it forever on video now. I knew that they had benefits before I got there. I always look it up because I know that majority of people will have some type of, especially a big company. So what happened was she said, "Oh, well, how progressive of your dad's employer 31 years ago to have an EAP. I bet, we're in journal. I mean, we're seeing trauma all day long here, Sharon. I bet if we had what you had, there'd be a line around the corner." And so I paused because I meditate. And I said, well, dare I say, there's a good chance that you have them. And then by the time I got from that interview to the podcast that they did after it, They were like, Darren, we have EAP benefits. Well, why? I just met you guys 10 seconds ago. How come I know this and you guys don't know? So that's the miss. People are like, we can't do this every day. We can't. Yes, okay, but you can do it once a month.
Yeah.
That's because everybody's mental health is really we're at a really really sensitive time right now.
Yeah.
We're really and people are not willing to have brave conversations, and I am not willing to have a brave conversation about your unbrave conversations. There are just too many people that are suffering today
Yeah.
to not be brave. Be brave and ask somebody, "Are you okay?" This is
Mm.
very. This is not like people have to bring in a whole consulting team. This is like, okay, everybody in leadership, I would like for you to ask your staff, "How are you?" And then let them answer you before comparing it to Uncle Leo in Ohio. Really, it's that
Because you can
simple.
understand what they're going through because of Uncle Leo in Ohio having it so much worse.
It really is that basic though, because not small businesses can't afford the EAP benefits. There are
Yeah.
many, many other free resources out there for people that can be taken advantage of. And the first thing is really getting our leaders to learn how to regulate their nervous systems. Most people don't even know what the hell I'm talking about when I say regulate your nervous system. I'm like, yeah, well,
How do you
time to
define it? Okay, define it for us. So when you're talking about regulate
Mhm.
your nervous system, what
Yeah,
practically, what are you telling these leaders that we
yeah.
must do?
So let's just go back to your example before. So say you weren't regulated that day when your staff came and said, "Hey, we got toxic Joe over here."
Yeah.
And you were like, "What are you talking about?" That's an unregulated human.
Yeah.
So it's so basic. It's just like listening, like breathing while somebody is talking to you, pausing, and then being able to say, "I'm going to need some time to consider this and I'll get back to you." And then I don't know, we go meditate in the corner, do some breathing exercises. There's box breathing. There's all sorts of ways to calm our nervous system, but everybody can feel the tense energy in their bodies.
Mm.
When something, it's horrible. Everybody knows this feeling, when there's one person and your team knew about this person that
I
everybody's
did
just
not.
walking. Well, you didn't know, but
Yeah,
you know now.
I didn't.
But the whole
Yeah.
team was walking on eggshells. Like, they had the
Yeah.
Sunday scaries. Like, oh, I got to see this dude again. It's horrible. It's a
Mm.
horrible work environment. So bravo for the team to coming to you, and bravo for you terminating somebody that doesn't belong, because like we could just be kind to each other. That's a real thing.
Well, I had a commander in the army that used to tell us bad news does not get better with time. And there are certain things I've learned. One of the ways I've become wiser, and I'm not perfect and I don't make all perfect decisions, but I have learned that there are some things that we cannot remediate. There are some things that do have to be removed. Mistakes, inefficiencies, productivity, even attendance sometimes can be remediated, but people's character, I have never yet, and tell me if you disagree, but I have never yet found a way to remediate or improve upon someone else's character unless they choose to do that themselves. And when it comes to toxicity in the workplace, which is humans treating other humans inhumanely, I guess, humans treating other humans inhumanely, I cannot remediate that, I don't think.
No, I mean, how you do life is how you do business. So if somebody's a jerk at home, they're going to be a jerk in the workplace. That's just a fact. And I think that, spending more time with our processes with hiring is really important. I think that there also should be check-ins with teams to, talk about other staff members. I think that it can be way more collaborative if we all just communicated with each other, like, and weren't so afraid. I always say, I'm here to make therapy great again. I would tell people, I would tell people when I'm going to therapy. I will tell people I'm going to meditation class tonight. I
Yeah.
will tell people I need to take a walk in nature. I need to put my feet in the grass. I need to breathe because all of the stress of life and work can be overwhelming sometimes.
Yeah.
But if we don't teach that, if the leaders are not regulated, don't expect anybody else to be. It's just like parents, right? It's like parents get so pissed off because their kids are on their phone while you're like this. Right. So be the example.
Yeah.
Be the example, and you'll see massive changes start to happen. It doesn't have to be extreme. We're not expecting HR to turn into a therapist. We just want people to be like kind and friendly and
But it doesn't have to
and
be a harmful environment.
no, and then be able to point out when somebody isn't doing well. We know we spend all of our time working, really, it feels like sometimes. So
Yeah.
if you see somebody's attitude change or they're not coming in on Mondays or we need to ask people if they're okay. That's not like this isn't anything we had to study in school. This is like we learned it in kindergarten, right?
Sure.
Okay. Nursery
If we
school.
paid attention.
Be kind to other people.
Yeah.
That's very basic. Yeah.
Well,
I'm more practical than I am. There's many things that can be done. Corporate terminology, there's many things, but really it just comes down to just start asking people how they're doing and allowing the space for them to be honest, just like your staff was able to be honest with you. That keeps people, that makes people feel heard and seen. Everybody wants to be seen. So,
Mm.
yeah.
wow. It's never too late. That's what I learned. It's never too late.
Yep.
We can heal our workplaces. We can heal our employees if they stick around. If they leave, I guess they've healed themselves. But it's never too late. And thankfully, like I told the team this week, I said, never. This must never happen again. Whatever it is that we have to do to keep this from ever happening again, far be it from me to ever have a workplace in which people are coming in here and suffering every day, because that's not what this is about. So I'm glad that you're doing what you're doing, helping other workplaces be places where people are not suffering. I'm going to cry. I'm getting emotional.
But it's beautiful because we really can make a big impact
Yeah.
on other people. Look at I am this is why I have to do this work.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't even realize how much suppressed trauma I had myself until I wrote my first book. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my God, I need to work. I need to regulate my own nervous system. And I need to figure out how to be more calm and to really listen to others. Listening, I would say, is the biggest piece of all of this. If we all were just more interested in another human being, oh man, we could just keep them forever and keep them forever on our team. So I'm thrilled that you have created a space where people can talk to you. That's a win. Most people don't have that. And then people leave. And then doctors especially. I don't know why I have so much turnover. Well, too.
What do you think? Well, thank you for saying that. I haven't even gotten to the point of reflecting on it like that yet, because it just happened this week and we're doing damage control. But
Mhm.
but thank you for saying that, because I think once we get on the other side of it and the stress comes down a little bit, um, I will know that I have done what I set out to do, which is to create a workplace that does not harm people on purpose.
Yeah. Especially in healthcare, right? Like,
Yeah. No.
we're actually here to help.
Right.
We're
Health
actually here to
care.
help. Yeah. Health
Health
care,
care.
right?
Not
Yes.
hurt, destroy. Health care. Very well.
Yeah.
Well, Sharon, listen, we've hit our 30 minutes today,
Mhm.
and that flew by so quickly. I am
Mhm.
so thankful that you came here to talk to me about this today, because as you can tell, it's very near to my heart and to my work today. And I hope that the other business leaders and CEOs and founders that listen to this feel inspired, feel like they want to go ask everybody how they're doing and then pause and wait to really listen and to really care. And I hope they feel inspired to make choices that might be hard choices for the good of the mental health of all. I would love to give you the opportunity to brag on yourself for just a second. If people are listening to you and thinking, I want her to come keynote at my company, or I want to get in contact with her, where can people find you to engage with you?
Yeah, I mean, if you type in my name, there's way too much information out there. So I'm pretty sure you could get my home address if you wanted to. I'm thrilled to just, I'll always be the doctor whisperer, but thankfully, this mental health in the workplace is taken off so beautifully. Where I will be speaking to 6,000 people next week, and if I can help two people in the room stay in their job because the leaders heard what I had to say, then it's all been worth it. So the Dr. Whisperer still exists. I wouldn't say it's updated. It probably says I still have a podcast, but I'm not about. The truth is, most people that hire me have been personally affected in some way. The people that are pretending and suppressing all their trauma and just saying I'm fine or I'm strong, they're not the ones that are going to hire me. But
Yeah.
I have known many, many CEOs and leaders that have lost their children to suicide and overdose. So those are the ones that usually will bring me on board. And I am honored on a daily basis to be able to be a light in the dark. And I'm
That's
funny too.
beautiful.
So like I'll have a good time with them.
And she's entertaining.
You'll hear a raw story, but I know what it's like to run businesses, and I know what it's like to just create a more peaceful environment for people. We go to work. We all have to work to earn a living. It doesn't have to be something that we get the Sunday scaries about.
Not at all. Okay.
So thank you.
Thank you, Sharon. Thank you so, so, so much. Good luck next week talking to 6,000 people from the diving industry. Good luck. I wish you all the best. Thank you for being here, and we'll talk to you soon. Thank you for tuning in to the I Am Wiser podcast, where each episode brings us closer to a wiser, more human approach to healthcare. If today's conversation inspired you or sparked new ideas, share it with someone who's ready to rethink healthcare. And if you have a story or innovation that could light the way for others, reach out. We'd love to hear from you. This space is yours too. Don't forget to follow, rate, and review us on your favorite platform. Until next time, stay curious, stay courageous, and stay wiser.